Greetings. Please excuse me if I read from notes. I haven't rehearsed this and I'm absolutely brand new to this. But this message is too important to wait for me to get trained to do this. So here we go. You've probably heard some rumors about a vaguely defined financial crisis. You might have even heard some reports in the mainstream media about a credit crisis. What's that all about? Why is it in the news? Is this something that you need to be worried about? Unfortunately, the system is too complex to accurately summarize it in a few words. So we're going to talk in generalities here, and we're going to talk about the parts that are most likely to impact you personally. Let's start by talking about money and debt. In our money system, new money is created whenever somebody borrows it. You might think that people put their money into banks and the banks loan it out, but that's almost backwards. What happens is the banks loan out money, and then they go looking for reserves to make their reserve requirements. If you're wondering where the banks get their money to loan out, well, they don't. It's all hocus pocus through checking and electronic transfer clearing systems. It's all a system of debits and credits, and the banks aren't really moving money around in big trucks or anything like that. What went wrong is that the banks loaned out money to people who could not possibly pay them back. Mortgages were made to people who did not have the money for a down payment and to people who were buying more expensive homes than they could realistically afford to make the payments on. People were allowed to borrow money through credit cards and home equity lines to live beyond their means, and the home equity loans were based on housing prices that had already been bid up with ever-increasing amounts of more debt. People were also using credit cards to borrow for current expenses, but they have to pay back not only what they borrowed, but also very high rates of interest. The banks weren't worried because, for one thing, they resold the loans, taking their own profits up front. For another thing, they had bought credit default insurance to raise the credit ratings of the loans they'd made precisely to make them marketable. Eventually what happened is that more and more of the borrowers began defaulting on their loan payments. When the owners of the debt began going to the people who had insured the loans against default, what they found out was that, first of all, it's hard to find the debt insurers because the loan kept changing hands so many times and people weren't keeping track of this. Another problem is that the debt insurers thought of the premiums they were collecting as free money. They weren't prepared to keep their end of the bargain. This situation was not an accident. The consequences might have been unforeseen by those who caused them, but they intentionally set up these conditions. One of the reasons they did it was to accommodate the war of Iraq before 9/11, which Iraq didn't even have anything to do with in the first place. Alan Greenspan has even admitted as much in his book, The Age of Turbulence. If you read it very carefully, it's there. He claims that he kept interest rates low because Iraq was threatening our oil supply. But does our oil come from Iraq? Most of it comes from Canada, Alaska, the Gulf of Mexico, Venezuela. It doesn't come from Iraq. So that wasn't true. Figure out who profited from the sales of Iraqi oil, and you'll know who wrecked our economy. Now let's cut to the chase. How is all this going to impact you? Well, first of all, we don't know yet because the worst is yet to come. We haven't seen the big wave of Alt-A refinances yet. We haven't seen the adjustable rate mortgages ratchet up. And we haven't seen much yet from the car loans and from the credit card defaults. That's all coming up. The worst is yet to come, and that's years out. What could happen to you is that your employer could lose a lot of business because so many people are broke and can't pay for new goods and services. Your employer could have also been counting on a line of credit from a bank that is now forced to withdraw that line of credit because its own reserves are running low. You might lose your job in the fallout from all of this. You've probably noticed that the prices of a lot of things that you use are rising fast. Inflation is another side effect of what's going on, and contrary to popular opinion, inflation can happen at the same time as a recession. It's called stagflation. You might have trouble paying back your own debts. Your house and your possessions might be repossessed. Investments that you have might be in danger, especially paper assets in the form of stocks and bonds. Your 401k savings, all of that might be in jeopardy. Almost certainly unless you take steps to do something about it now. I don't know exactly what will happen, but I know that it can't be good because the situation is too bad and has been out of control for too long. And steps that could have been taken earlier were not taken, and too many opportunities have been passed up. But what I do know about human behavior is that most people who listen to this message aren't going to do anything about it. Some people might worry for a while, but it's not fun to worry, and instead they'll just distract themselves and they'll get over it. They'll stop worrying about it and they won't have done anything. Some people will just ask questions, and I can't answer the questions. I don't know what's going to happen exactly. And those questions are really a way of trying to avoid dealing with the situation. Here's some things that if you do want to do something about it, then here are my 3 top suggestions for what you might try to do. Number 1 is to cut your expenses dramatically. I suggest that you have at least 20% savings rate. Lower your standard of living if you have to. Number 2 suggestion is to make sure your job is as secure as you can make it. Work harder, work later, kiss up to the boss, do whatever you need to. Don't do a lot of job hopping. That's not real smart right now. Number 3 suggestion is to get out of any risky investments, but unfortunately what that means, we'll have to find out. Generally, paper assets are not real secure right now. The more layers of indirection there are between you and the actual valuable asset, the worse it is. Just keep watching this channel and go to my website and learn more. That's www.mutuallyassuredsurvival.com. Sort of like mutually assured destruction, except this is mutuallyassuredsurvival.com. And we'll keep you up to date. So thank you so much for listening to this message. And join me on my website at www.mutuallyassuredsurvival.com. Goodbye now.